Now, this morning, Cosatu, students from all institutions in Gauteng and parents will be marching to the Chamber of Mines in the Johannesburg CBD. According to Cosatu's Gauteng Provincial Secretary, students and parents will meet them in the CBD and they will then march together. Well, joining us in studio now, we've got Dumisani Dakile, who of course is the Cosatu Gauteng Provincial Secretary, and a student also that's going to be participating in the march, and he's SABC president joining us here in studio. It's Avela Njajubane, and he's also studying a master's degree in science from the Durban University of Technology. Good to have both of you. Thanks so much for joining us here on the program.
Good morning and good morning to the viewers.
Good. All right. Let's begin. Why have you decided to start why are you marching to the Chamber of Mines in Joburg?
I think basically the issue here is that we have got a national crisis of education, but if you trace the crisis, it has its history, and historically it's precisely because also it is a contributing factor as to why the country has got such high level of unemployment. It is also the reason why we've got a high level of inequalities. It is also precisely because of the reason why we have such high level of unemployment. Yeah. And if you trace all of those particular issues, they've got a historical challenge themselves because of colonialism that we have had in the country, because of decades of apartheid that we have in the country. And the business sector are the main contributing factor to all of these particular problems. So we'll be confronting what we call business to say the issue of education, it is not just a government responsibility. Yeah. The private sector has a critical and important role to play. And as things stands, people are saying it is government that must take responsibility. Yes, of course, we agree. But it is business that also benefits a lot out of the education system. Yeah. And we are saying that if you look in terms of many other developed and developing countries, education is an apex. Each and every country that has developed, it has taken education seriously. Okay. And we don't believe that both government and business in particular in our country, they've managed to play the role that they're supposed to be playing.
All right, so students are going to be participating as well. I mean, we've been seeing what's been happening around campuses around South Africa. We haven't necessarily heard students shouting out at business, but obviously there's been this call to government. So this angle of now also marching to business, I mean, is this what's happening exactly how it's been described from Cosatu's point of view?
No, look, we must put it clear that this march is a march that is organized by the student organization, which is the union that we lead. And then we thought that we must engage our parents, which is the Trade Union Federation, to support us in this call, because the call for free higher education is not only a call that students only must ought to lead, but also parents, because are them that bear the brand of this frustration about paying of fees and all these things. So this march, it also seeks to address the question that we have seen students protesting across all institutions of higher learning and protesting only for fees. But the question of higher education on its own is not a question that must only be addressed by government. If we order to develop this country, we must also be able to combine together as a country and address this crisis. But private sector has played a minimal role since the dawn of democracy. So we are saying that private sector must be able to play a critical role in terms of funding for free higher education, because it's them that are the commanding heights of our economy in the country. So it can't be that they only swallow the increase or the profits from mineral resources that we have as the country, but don't contribute towards the national building. So we have taken this initiative in order to force private sector to come to board, to meet government halfway. But government on its own needs to take a lead in terms of deriving or crafting policies that are going to force private sector to come on board to fund for free higher education.
Yeah. So you've actually come up from Durban. You're a student in Durban.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've been. I mean, you're now doing your masters. So how has it been for you? Has it in terms of paying fees and getting by all the way up to getting to the master's level in science?
Look, myself, I'm a NSFAS product. I'm a product of government.
Yeah.
Myself, when I get to employment or to the workplace, I must be able to pay back. But the question that we try to address here, we don't want NSFAS. We don't want our parents also to get into loans in order to fund for our education. We say that our education must not be sold to us. We have the right to be educated in order to build the economy, because the free higher education struggle, in essence, is a struggle for the radical economic shift in the country. So we cannot be able to advance a radical economic shift in the country without tampering with the education system, because people need to be skilled, and we don't want an education that is outsourced. You know, because ourselves as the country, we are coming from an apartheid, rootless colonialism. So we must be able to come out of that as the country and address the education system. But we must not, when we're doing that, also invent or invite pan-Africanist politics that seeks to remove white people and not deal with what becomes the class content of our education system. So what we seek to do is that our education system, first of all, must not be sold to us. That deals with the commodification of education. But the decoloniality of our education must speak to education that responds to the needs of our society, which you will speak of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. So our education system does not respond to all those needs. It perpetually produces us as particular students to be in the marketplace, to be ready ourselves for capitalist reservoir, where we are being taken to employment or remain in that unemployment spectrum.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get back to the idea of what's happening with the march today, because it's happening this morning. But we've been seeing such scenes of violence on university campuses of late. I mean, the march that's taking place today. Have you urged those that are participating to keep it calm and keep it as peaceful as possible?
I think then we strongly condemn the banning of our institutions. We don't think that will produce the desired results. And in actual fact, what it does, it takes away the core issues that students are raising. And at the public domain, what it does, it alienates the demands that have been raised by students. So that's why we're saying, let the anger be channeled in the right direction. And we're saying that as parents, we're taking up responsibility to lead this particular students, and we're not anticipating any violent actions that will be taken today. It's going to be a very peaceful march. But I think we must also add, it is not only the chamber that we are targeting today. We are saying also the banks, for that particular matter, they've got a key and a critical role that they have to play. Because if you also look in terms of the growth of our economy, the industrial sector is shedding quite much jobs, but the financial sector is the one that is taking the lead in terms of its contribution to the GDP. Therefore, the financial sector specifically and in particular also, because there's been a linkage between the mineral sector and the financial sector. Therefore, we're saying both of them, as the leaders of of the economy, they must be able to assist in addressing this particular crisis, because it is also to their own benefit. How many times are you hearing the arguments that jobs are there but there are no skills? How are you going to have skills if a business sector does not invest in education system?
But the business sector does invest in education.
Well, for us, it's just a very minimal in terms of their
so you're wanting to see an increase in their investment?
We want to see a dramatic increase. It must be triple-fold in terms of the current resources that are putting in the education system. Because if you look in terms of who are the real beneficiaries of the graduates,
they go into business.
They got to business, majority of them. Therefore, the business sector must come. But also, business sector must take the historical responsibility, because it has been the business sector, for example, in this country that have maintained colonialism. It has been the business of this country that has maintained and sustained apartheid. They've been benefiting out of it. And because we must also understand that besides the question of the class that they've created, it has also been the question of race, where blacks have been told that they must not do mathematics, they must not do science. So the business sector, in actual fact, they're the perpetuators of the current system. It is the business sector that benefits more than anyone else if we've got such large number of the army of the unemployed in this particular country. And we are saying that situation is not sustainable. That is why we've got so much violent protests in our communities. That's why we've got so much high number of youth that is unemployed, because that youth is supposed to be at school, but it does not have resources to go to school precisely because the private sector does not want to play its role.
We have to leave it there for this morning, but it is taking place. I'm sorry I can't give you a word there because we've run out of time, but I think we get a great idea about what this march is all about today, and what the students feel, and also what Cosatu feels. Dumisani Dakile is the Cosatu Gauteng Provincial Secretary, and also joining us from the Durban University of Technology is also the SABC president there, talking to us on behalf of students. It's been Avela Njajubane. Thank you very much for being with us here on the program. We're going to take a